Now we have the legendary, the iconic, and one of the coolest brothers that I know personally. DJ producer extraordinaire, Easy Mo B in the building. Mo B, what up?
Peace, what's up?
What's going on, G?
First time. Pre-game show.
We're definitely happy to have you up here. What's good though? Everything smooth?
Everything is cool. I guess like the whole reason why I'm here and the whole era right now is because of 20 years of Ready to Die. Rest in peace, Notorious B.I.G.
For real.
September 13th to the day, like
right,
20 years ago.
Exactly.
This album was released. I also wanted to talk about, a lot of people just been Biggie. September 13th.
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of us fail to realize, we overlooked it because it's just been
which we just spoke about, exactly. Yeah, we just talked about that. Right? Exactly.
But today, September 12th, makes the 20th anniversary for Big Daddy Kane's It's a Big Daddy Thing.
Oh, wow.
Right. And that album happens to be the joint that put me in the game. Another Victory and Call Her Mr. Welfare featuring DJ Red Alert. Those is that's my introduction to
this game.
To the commercial.
To the commercial side of things.
Of this game.
Because
before that, I was putting in work independently, like with Rapping is Fundamental. Shout to AB Money and JR, wherever you at right now.
Right.
But it was in 89 with that album. And then from there, that's what enabled me to be able to be here today.
Absolutely.
For the Biggie.
Absolutely. Right?
You know what I mean?
Well, before we even get to the big situation, because, you know what I'm saying, that is definitely important, but, you know what I mean, it was a double situation to have you up here, first and foremost to celebrate you and all of your accomplishments and all the incredible things that you've done for hip-hop, spanning now almost 3 decades, right?
Damn.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
3 decades.
I tell people 25, but I tell them 25 because of the It's a Big Daddy Thing we just spoke about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But to be honest, it go a little bit longer,
a
little
bit further back.
But,
let's do this.
But when them numbers start getting high, I don't want to quote them. I don't want to quote them like that because
but those are stripes.
How old is this dude, man?
Hey, listen, though, on some real shit though, in this game and in this day and age, where rappers and producers and DJs are coming and going. To have a legacy with a long-standing career the way that you have, it's super important to make sure that we acknowledge those accolades and those milestones because there are not a lot of people that are doing it like that.
I can say that too.
So it's important to acknowledge that. So let's do this.
Let me just say this. So if there's anybody out there that want to do the math, I already told you 25 for Kane, right? Okay. Okay. Rapping is Fundamental was formed, and we started, putting in work like 86 to 87 right there. So,
86.
You do the math.
Okay. What was some of your earliest influences as far as memories that you have, as far as what inspired you to get into making music, or before even making music, becoming a DJ? Because that's the first and foremost important thing is people to understand too, is that you are a DJ. You're not just a producer.
What I always tell a lot of people, and they laugh about it, but my pops, man, my father, I always say he's the real Easy Mo B.
Why are they laughing at your dad? They're laughing at you looked at your dad as an inspiration?
Because he's the whole reason why I'm here today and why I'm dealing with the music. Like he played so much music around the house, man. Right. Like from Motown to gospel, like James Cleveland, Shirley Caesar, all the way to Miles Davis, James Brown, all that good music that was coming out on Stax Records.
Absolutely.
He traveled. I watched him travel through the whole change of music. He even started to, adapt to a little bit of the disco, but for him it had to be like the disco soul. Say like Candy State, and when you wake up tomorrow, thing. Oh, that's exactly. But he wasn't getting into the Donna Summers, but he. Long story short, he's the real introduction to the music, man.
Was he a DJ or was he just a music lover?
Nah, just a lover of music.
Okay.
45 stacked up high and piles in the corner, records all the way up in albums up in the closet, all down inside of the You know, that coffee table stereo.
Right.
Anybody got a grandmom's, you go to, they probably still got that coffee table stereo. We had that coffee table stereo. But during that time growing up, you know, I watched something happen. I guess it wasn't even a name for it yet. But, you know, dudes was dragging big ass kicker speakers.
Right.
That's what they call them back.
Right.
Big bass bottoms. And the
but these the homemade ones.
The two turntables and the mixer. You know, I'm watching dudes take 2 copies of T Connection, Do What You Want to Do. You know, that's considered like real true disco.
Right.
He's running that over and I'm like, yo, I want to do that. I want to tell everybody too, make sure if you in this hip hop, if you in music, make sure you appreciate and you do the research and study the whole spectrum of the music. Because you'll sit back and you'll hear Donna Summer or Theo Vanessa or whatever these old disco records. You're like, yo, that's that corny. Let me tell you something. Hip hop was born out of disco. Hip hop was born out of the frustration of disco.
Right.
You know, the DJs like Grandmaster Flash and all of them, they'll tell you, they're like, yo, disco got to a point where we was like, yo, we don't want to hear all of that. We just like that favorite part of the record,
that break,
where everything drops down to, and they called it the break.
Right.
And it was, and the science was, the theory was, how can I take that part and just repeat it over and over and over, and then what the other element that gets added on top is the MC.
So the MC was the afterthought at that point.
Yeah, the DJing was first.
Right.
That, you know, hip hop was music first, and then later there's the MC that comes on top, and it wasn't even real rapping yet. It's just yes, y'all, to the beat, y'all, you know, stop.
Like crowd motivator type of situation.
My mellow, you know.
Right.
You know, you was really doing it if you was the dude on the mic, and you were the center of attraction. My point is, the dudes on the turntable, the element of the MC being added on later, that dude that was on the mic, I stood back as a little kid. Yo, I was like, I want to do that.
Right.
I want to be like them. And I studied and I watched. Big shout to, rest in peace to DJ RM. There was 2 of them. There was 2 brothers, Ronnie and Roy Moore.
Okay.
Not far from here. LG, Lafayette Gardens. They're the first DJs I ever seen bring music outside the projects in the back park. They're the first that gave me that experience to watch. And then, you know, not to just harp on that for so long, but after learning how to DJ and honing my craft throughout high school, coming home, throwing the books down, not even doing homework, jumping on the set and everything, then towards the mid 80s, I say somewhere like around 86, I say, is when the sampling sensation set in.
Okay.
You know, because before that, you know, we know that Sugar Hill Gang, Rappers Delight,
they took
Curtis Blow, Christmas Rap, and a lot of those records, they were all done with live instrumentation and bands. Now, hip hop started with the records, the actual records.
Right.
Like Rappers Delight was supposed to be with the actual record, Good Times, but they couldn't clear those records back then, or they didn't want to. It'd be so expensive.
So they had to go back in and replay it.
So finally, somewhere around 86, that's when, you know, artists in hip hop was like, man, fuck that. I'm using this.
Right.
And that's when we started to get the Eric B. is for Presidents, you know, those early EPMD records. A lot of the stuff. My biggest influences, to finally answer your question, I had to say all of that to say this.
We schooled right now.
Marley Marl is somehow at the top of that list for me. Howie T, Hitman Howie T, excuse me. Jazzy J. There's so many that I could name. Said G.
Right.
From the Ultramagnetics. He was an actual member of the Ultramagnetics, but a lot of people don't know that he was a magnificent producer, man. He's like totally responsible for a lot of that the earliest Boogie Down production.
Right.
Any of those contributions, South Bronx, and I studied these dudes. Again, this is here we go again. I was the young kid in the park. Right. Now I'm seeing this happening. I'm like, yo, I want to be them too. I'm a bad